Welcome to the WP Query project. In this video, we'll be building this project from scratch. Here we create a list of all our subscribing members with their default data, which was collected by WordPress, and some additional info that was added by ACF or Advanced Custom Field. Throughout this project, I'll be moving through pretty fast, and I'll be using most of the knowledge learned from the previous 2 videos of this playlist. So I strongly recommend that you watch those 2 videos for a better understanding. That being said, let's get started. Okay, so we have an empty template here, and to get to know the template name, you can focus right here. The name is template UT user query, and if we go back to the code, the template is right here, and this is where we're about to start from scratch. So let's get started. First off, I have created 3 placeholders here with 3 comments where my first few most important parts of this project will go: the arguments, the query, and the loop. Okay, let's get started with the argument. All right, so we're going to start with the subscriber role, and number of users we're going to be requesting is 5. Let's save that. Now let's go create the user query. All right, so user query has been created. Now let's go create the loop. Okay, so here we're checking first whether or not we have any query results. If we do, here comes the for each loop that will give us the single user data looping through all the user objects. Now let's move to the next step. Actually, before going to the next step, let's first test this loop, see what we get. Let's add an echo. Let's get the display name of all the users. Basically, just as a refresher, what the user object looks like and where I'm getting all this from. Let's go look at the previous result that I collected before, right here. Basically, these are the results. This is how it actually presents itself. It gives us all the user objects, and all the necessary data shows up like that. From there, I am trying to pull out this display name, and eventually we're going to get all of the user registered, email, etc. Now let's go back. Okay, now that we have this here, let's refresh. All right, looks like our loop is working. We're getting our top 5 subscribers. Now let's move to the next step. Before we move forward with the query, let's get a total number of subscribers that we have. Echo. Okay, so here we are using a default function called getTotal, running it on the user query. This should give us the total number of users that this query will get me. Now keep in mind, this number and this number will not match, because here we are asking 5 to display, but this is gonna give us the total number of subscribers that the query finds. So save that. Let's go find out, refresh. There you go. Here we're asking for 5 to display, but the total number of subscribers is 7. Now to get all 7 of them, let's see what we can do. Let's just change this to -1, go back, refresh. So here's our 7 subscribers, that's all of them. Usually it's better not to use the -1 because there could be a huge number of subscribers out there, thousands of them, so it's preferred not to be used. But for this project, since we have altogether 7 of them, we're going to keep it as is. Let's move on. Okay, now that we know our display name is showing up properly, so let's get the rest of the few. For example, let's get the email address, the registered date, and the user's role right here, right? And let's prettify them with HTML. In that case, let's remove this, and let's do an echo. All right, so this is pretty much the same data as you saw before, just HTML added to it. And in these cases, I'm just using some Bootstrap classes here. So let's save this and see what shows up when we ask for the role, the email, and register date. Let's refresh. All right. Looks like all the data coming from the user object nicely. Now let's move on to the next step. Okay, we're back at the code, and at this point I added 2 comments here. The user data display, as we all know, and this block I created for ACF, or Advanced Custom Field Prefix, and field data collection from the profile. This part, if you've been watching this series, has been described in detail in the previous video of this series, but I'm gonna go ahead and give you a quick overview anyway, just in case you're watching this for the first time. For this, we have to go back to the WordPress backend. All right, here we find all our subscriber users. Let's isolate them. All right, all 7 of them. And if we go inside any one of them, one of their profiles, we go down a little bit and we find these extra fields that were generated by Advanced Custom Field, or ACF, which is basically this plugin right here, Advanced Custom Field Pro. And to see the details, you have to click here. This will open up, and let's go inside this additional info block, field group, and this is where we find all these fields, the fields and the field IDs. And most important part is this block right here. Out of all these types, I had to choose user role and equate it to subscriber out of all these, and thus the data showed up right here. And to see how we extract this data and show in the front end, we have to go back to the ACF document, and right here you'll find all the necessary data as to how to extract the data from the user profile. Basically, I have to use either of the 2 functions, in this case this one, get field, with these 2 attributes. The first one is the field name, which comes from right here. These are all the field IDs. And the second argument is user underscore the user ID, just like this. Now let's go back to the code. Okay, so now let's start right here. Set up all the ACF variables, $ACF. All right. So right here, we're just, since we are already inside this loop, just by using this user object, we're collecting the user ID, putting it inside the ACF user ID, because this is a special one since we had to prefix it by adding user underscore, and then just simply calling the function get field. The field IDs, once again quickly, they're coming from right here, in this case the phone, the site, and Facebook. And as the second argument, this ACF user ID, thus we're collecting all the data inside these variables, and next would be displaying them right here. Okay, so this is pretty much the final touch time before we add the ACF data. But quickly, let's go take a look what our output is currently looking like. Let's refresh. Okay, so this is what our output is looking like. Let's go make it a little bit prettier. Okay, at this point, we're going to go ahead and display these ACF, or Advanced Custom Field variables, right here. But before we do, let's try to make it look good a little bit. Let's do an echo. Okay, so here I'm bringing in a block. I'm using a card class from Bootstrap, and for a light background I'm using VG Light, and I'm using some padding, so P4. This is the beginning of a div, ending of a div, and additional info. Let's save that. Let's go back, refresh. All right, Now we have a nice little block got created, and now let's go bring in the other ACF fields in between the divs, right about here. And also, you may have noticed I've used a HR tag so that it creates nice little separation between the user items. Okay, so let's do an echo. All right. So I brought in the phone, the website, and the Facebook, and just wrapped it with some HTML and some Bootstrap classes. In case you're wondering where I got this text danger from, and then card and BG light for background, etc., let me give you a quick review of the Bootstrap classes. Okay, right here you see these classes for text coloring. Text danger gives us red, and these gives me the background colors. I'm using BG light, and the card class is giving me this nice little spacing and the border. And for spacing, I'm using one of these. So you can find all the details here. Now let's go back. Now let's see how all my Bootstrap classes and my data shows up. Let's save this. Moment of truth. Let's go to the front end and refresh. Bam. All our subscriber users with their corresponding user data and the advanced custom field data, all in one place. Through this, you also now have the basic knowledge of how to build something like this, something real fancy. So that's about it for this video series. And before I go, I just wanted to give you one last look of the full code as we coded it, just like this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please smash the like button and the subscribe button. This will help me bring more free contents like this to you every week. Thanks again.